G'day all, welcome to FCP Australia. It's been a little while since I've done a bit of an update, but today I'm planning an update in regards to the South Australian state election, which is in a few days' time. So we're coming up, it's Monday today as a time of recording, and we're voting has opened as pre-polling's open for everybody now. The main election day is this Saturday, the 21st of March, and wanted to do this update. I was hoping to do it a bit earlier, but anyway, nonetheless, here it is. I'm going to do it now. Going to be covering sort of three little segments. One's going to be talking about the Australian Christian Lobby recommendations and voting for South Australia. Then there's also a matrix from Turning Point Australia, which I want to run through, and then we're going to unpack some how to vote cards and what they tell us, and then for you to make your own mind up about which way you'd like to go, which direction you feel that you need to cast your vote based, I guess, on a whole heap of things, right? We all come at this from very different perspectives. I am talking into this on this particular occasion from a Christian worldview for myself. Whatever I go through is based on my own views and opinions, and everybody needs to determine and discern how they move forward in regards to who they want to represent them for the next 4 years, and what sort of future that will entail for your children and grandchildren and yourselves ultimately moving forward. But just as a real quick update, I have got the website live, so I just wanted to obviously share that with you. This fcpaustralia.com, www.fcpaustralia.com, and you'll find some articles. Now, I have talked about the election over the last couple of months, but I've also written some articles. So on the website, you can actually click. You've got some little tabs at the top here, different topics, culture, politics. If you click on the politics South Australia, you can see I've written a few little articles over the last few months just in regards to different things. Before we vote, a two-horse race, talking about the saturated media in regards to Labor and Liberal in general, the major parties, the high cost of smaller parties getting in there, constitutional questions behind the South Australia's election, which talked a little bit about the new election underneath the First Nations voice. So there's a few things there that I've written about, so you can check that out on fcpaustralia.com, the new website. But in regards to the election, obviously you can also follow on YouTube and Rumble as well, and follow that along as well. But I did just also want to, as we kick off, wanted to make sure that whatever I'm talking about today is obviously based on my own personal views, personal opinions. For anything related to South Australian voting, and for your own guidance, your own discernment, your own research, the Electoral Commission of South Australia has got a dedicated website for the state election in March 21. Now, I know that pre-polling opened on Saturday already. There's a couple of days in. This video is coming out a bit late, but hopefully it makes you think a little bit differently than what you may have. But the Electoral Commission has obviously got a full dedicated website, which I encourage you to reference. It is the point of contact for anything to do with the South Australian state election, and so regardless of anything that I share with you today, we recommend you question it and challenge it via the website. You can always obviously reach out to me. A lot of things I'm going to be talking about, I understand there's going to be some nuance around it as well, but anyway, this is the website for the Electoral Commission of South Australia. So that's ecsa.sa.gov.au. So check that out. Check that out there. That's their website. But anyway, let's get kicking into it. As I said, there's going to be three little sections I'm going to be talking about. This first one is going to be talking a little bit about the Australian Christian lobby. So we'll jump into that now. But before the Australian Christian lobby, I also wanted to quickly share this. Now, this is a site put together by someone I've become aware of through the COVID years. She's a researcher, Sharon Cousins, over in New South Wales. She put a little bit of a website together, Vote Wisely, sort of conservative leaning, and she's been doing this for a number of years now. So, and that is Vote Wisely. It's on a GoDaddy site, and perhaps I'll chuck the links for all these in the videos once it's uploaded. But that's hers there, and you open up a PDF on there, and it goes through. It opens up a little bit of a PDF there, and it goes through a whole heap of things there for you to look at. But again, this is, I'm not saying this detracts from this Electoral Commission of South Australia, but she talks a little bit here about the margins, some key seats that are very marginal. And she gives a little bit of a detail about the parties that are running, which also can all be found on the Electoral Commission website. But she's also written there about the some of the issues to consider in the South Australian election here. We're looking at the regular cost of living stuff, affordable housing, health, in regards to ramping delays, energy reliability is a big one, water security, the algae bloom issue, education, shortages of teachers, school infrastructure and so forth, crime and safety, youth crime prevention, and restrictions to freedom of speech and religious teaching, Conversion Practices Prohibition Act of 2024, but plus there's others. We know there's other parties that are hot on trying to limit some religious freedoms as well here in this state and around the country. But also then she breaks down the key seats with a margin of less than 8%, and she highlights them in yellow and the different parties that are currently in those seats. So look, I'll put a link in, you can check them out yourself. I didn't want to spend a huge amount of time on that because the other stuff's going to take quite a bit of time as well. So I just thought I'd share that with you. That's the information put together by Sharon Cousins over there in Wollongong in New South Wales. But anyway, let's crack into the Australian Christian lobby, South Australia votes. Now, obviously, I am presenting this because I do hold a Christian worldview, and I wanted to go through this with you. And so on their site, you've got the key issues, you've got candidates and parties, how to vote, about us, and for churches information. So you definitely click on there, and in this little section here, you can search either by address or the electorate, if you know it, or your address. You type it in there, and you find the candidates relevant to your electorate there, and it really just talks about the different party responses on the Australian Christian Lobby scorecard, which I'll go through a little bit. I'm not going to go through each individual party, but just wanted to make you aware that's there for you to go and have a look at that, and you can check out where each individual candidate sits on this as well. So just wanted to share that with you as well, and then explore key issues, which I will go through just as a big a broad overview on there. So if you click on the key issues, it will open up the party scorecard there for you for the Australian Christian Lobby. Now, I'm not going to go through all the different, they've ranked them, obviously, scorecard A, B, C, D, E, from obviously top to bottom. And they went to all the parties, and I'm only going to read the party distinctives section, and you can check out the scorecard in its entirety yourself as time permits in there. So it talks about the methodology used, voting records, public policy platforms, mainly public statements by leaders and candidates. So where these parties stand on different issues that are important to the Australian Christian Lobby, which obviously have thousands and thousands of members that they put this together for, obviously. And then obviously the grading system, strong alignment with Christian pro-life, pro-family principles, B range generally supportive but with inconsistency, C range mixed record, D largely unsupportive of those, and F is fundamentally opposed. So I did want to just go through the party distinctives over there, and again you can go just through the because of time and just to show you that this all exists for you to have a look at. So if you're looking at family first, have a focus on Christian values, maintaining the family unit as the core of society and reducing the cost of living. Family first party, so that's family first. Then you've got Australian Family Party, that's the sign there. Party has focus on Christian values, strength in defence, economy and the family unit. Sarah Games Fair Go have a focus on transparency, accountability and family values, so up in the A's. The Nationals have a focus on rural and regional communities. They have also recently promised to ban poking machines. It's an A-, but again, you can look at their scorecard for all the different things they've got there, and I guess we'll just go back up here. It's just that first column is pro-life, abortion and euthanasia. The other one is religious freedom, Christian schooling. The other one is LGBTQI plus ideology in schools, puberty blockers for kids. Then you've got a section for prostitution, and this is where they all come together. One Nation has a focus on immigration reform and national values, and United Voice. UVA is a pro-freedom party that supports conservative values while promoting environmental and animal welfare. So on all these, they've ranked at a B-. Jingli, MLC, has been a member of the upper house since 2010. So you can see there's an F there. Changed her views on late-term abortion, just wanted to point that one out, and voted against limiting late-term abortions. So it's got a B- on A and A there. The Liberal Party traditional focus is prioritise economic growth through lower taxes and reduced regulation, support for private enterprise and small business. Now they're ranking, surprisingly, Liberal Party with Australian Christian Lobby is ranking quite low, you can read that in its entirety there as well. Again, the links, I'll put the links into the video. Labor traditional focus is on public service workers, rights, investing in infrastructure and promoting social equity through government-led initiatives. They've got a D+, so quite low on the cards. The Greens, obviously low, F and F for the Greens and Animal Justice Party, because most people would understand their views, a lot of their views in regards to these types of principles, and not very on board with Christian views and values and the worldview. And as this is, would like you to remember having a bit of focus on this as I'll go through and look at the alignment with another major party, and we can see Labor's quite low on the list as well. So Labor and the Greens and Animal Justice, and I just want you to keep that in mind as we keep going forward as well. And in particular, if you are a Christian and you traditionally voted Labor, and obviously it's much more nuanced, I'd be surprised if many Christians would lean towards social parties like Socialist Party or Animal Justice or Greens, but I guess it's a little bit more nuanced in regards to Labor. But again, that is my view and opinion. So that is the scorecard for the Australian Christian Lobby, and again, as I said, you can go to their website as well and check that out, but I will put links in there. The key issues, the candidates and parties, how to vote is all on there for you to check out, and each party will have a bit more of a detailed description about all that as well. So definitely worth checking out if you are a Christian and you are interested in some of those key issues that the Australian Christian Lobby is also advocating for as well. So then let's move on to the Turning Point Australia. It's a conservative platform, very Christian focused, conservative focused platform, Turning Point Australia. They have got their platform there, TPAUS, TPAUST.com. and this is one of their campaigns, and it's SA Votes 1st of March 26. I guess if you go back to this is their main site talking about a lot of things, but the current campaign, if you click on there, brings you to the SA Votes 2021 site there. And for this particular discussion, I'm going to go to their party policy matrix, which is there. You can see, you can click on that and it'll bring up the party policy matrix. Now I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through this. The print is a bit slow, a bit small, but I'm just going to read through that, and you could again check this out yourself on their website. But I'm going to read them out and then look across the lines. And the reason I've kind of brought it in together like that, just to show where the other end of the spectrum starts. Obviously, One Nation at one end and the Greens at the other. From there. And so the first question is, do you oppose net zero targets currently set for South Australia? So everybody, all the parties have, except for Liberal, Labor and the Greens. I know that Liberals have come back a little bit, changed, but they're obviously not far enough. And in some of the responses and this chart that was put together, Turning Point Australia don't believe the Liberals have gone far enough in regards to the net zero targets here in South Australia. Obviously, that's a big one for Labor, net zero 2027, putting a massive strain on South Australians. The other one in regards to economy is, do you support gas-fired power stations remaining open and operational in South Australia? Every party says yes, apart from the Greens, and they want that shut down as well. They want 100% renewables. They don't want you. They want you to have maybe. I don't know, not cook, not eat, not warm your house, not put lights on. Anyway, fully reliant on battery, solar and wind farms. But anyway, going on in economy, we've got, do you support removing the legislative ban on nuclear energy in South Australia? And again, every party says yes, apart from Labor and the Greens. So Labor and Greens are holding back on nuclear energy as a mix, to be able to have a legislative, take away the legislative ban on nuclear to allow it to be part of the whole energy mix for reliability and cost for South Australians. The other last one in economy is, do you support an active state policy to rebuild local manufacturing and reduce South Australia's reliance on imports? And all parties agree on that, including the Greens. So then we go to health. Do you oppose any future vaccine or medical mandates imposed by the SA government under any circumstances? And obviously, this has come about through COVID. We've all lived through COVID. Things could have definitely been done a lot better, but every party, so the Nationals have got most times, all other parties yes, but again, Labor and the Greens don't oppose any future vaccine or medical mandates. So for you to know, in regards to health, do you affirm that parents must retain final and overriding authority over all medical decisions affecting their children? So every party there is saying yes, apart from the Greens in that regard. Just making sure they got that right. Yep. So the next one, do you support the full repeal of all ongoing or residual emergency powers retained by SA Health following COVID-19? All parties say yes, except for Labor and Greens. Do you oppose late-term abortion in South Australia, except where it is necessary to save the life of the mother? So all parties yes, Liberals no, Labor no, and the Greens no. So that's where they stand on that. And the last one in health is, do you support the use of medicinal marijuana and recreational marijuana? All these parties have gone no to recreational, but they're saying yes to medicinal. But of course, the Greens are a yes for both as well. In regards to housing, do you support slowing population growth in South Australia until housing supply and infrastructure capacity are demonstrably sufficient? Every party says yes. Of course, Labor's saying no. Labor's looking to obviously bring more. Even the Greens are saying yes to this, but obviously Labor not. Do you support prioritising South Australians for public housing and state-funded assistance? All parties agree to that, obviously. In regards to agriculture, do you oppose state policies that discourage meat production, livestock farming, or family-owned farms? All parties saying yes, apart from the Greens. Agriculture again, will you protect South Australian farmers from climate change regulations that undermine productivity, profitability, or long-term viability? So Labor and the Greens are no, or the others are a yes. Do you support prioritising South Australian food production as a matter of food security and affordability? So all parties on this one are saying yes. Last one in regards to agriculture, will you ensure regional communities have substantially greater control over land use, water allocation, and environmental regulation decisions? All parties are saying yes on that one as well. In regards to education and families, do you support removing gender ideology from South Australian primary school curricula? All parties, apart from Labor and the Greens, have said no. Do you support full parental transparency and legal enforceable opt-out rights for all sexuality or identity-based programs in schools? And all parties, again, yes, apart from Labor and Greens, no. Do you support requiring schools to inform parents if a child adopts a different gender or identity at school? And every party saying yes. Labor and Greens are saying no. Will you introduce direct tax relief or financial incentives to support South Australian families having children? All parties agree with that, saying yes, they will. Do you support stronger employment protections for young families, including parents balancing work, pregnancy, and caregiving responsibilities? All of them are saying yes there, and no other policies will be put in place for the family party in there. So I'm going to go through later in regards to the family party as well, and give you a bit of a breakdown about the family party. Freedom, do you oppose South Australia participating in any national digital ID scheme enforced or administered at the state level? So every party has said yes, apart from Labor. So do you oppose South Australia participating in any national digital ID scheme? And Labor is in support of that. Do you oppose SA government agencies monitoring, restricting, suppressing, or censoring lawful online speech? And both parties, Labor and the Greens, are no. All other parties are yes. And keeping going with freedom, do you support an unconditional right to peaceful protest in South Australia without excessive permits, restrictions, or aggressive policing? So all parties are saying yes to that, which is interesting. Do you oppose the use of state laws or penalties to punish lawful, non-violent speech or political expression? And Labor and Greens are a no on that one. Everybody else is a yes. And then under freedom again, do you support protections for legal hunting and an end to further gun restrictions in South Australia? So Labor and the Greens, of course, no. All parties except for Fairgo, Sarah Games Fairgo party, has put a no against that as well. Protections for legal hunting and an end to further gun restrictions. So we're down to accountability now. Will you push to establish the Aboriginal state voice to Parliament and to abolish, sorry, will you push to abolish the Aboriginal state voice to Parliament and explore other ways to help that community? All other parties are saying yes. Labor and Liberal, Labor and the Greens are no, obviously, because massively behind it. Labor instituted it, so that's where they stand on it. When negotiating state partnerships with global organisations, will you ensure they serve South Australians' interests first? So we're talking about the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the UN, the said the WEF, and those sorts of ones. So all parties have said yes, but I'm not too sure about that anyway, because these things are done under the radar. These organisations, they might not attack at the party level, but at an individual level. Do you support restricting foreign ownership or control of strategic South Australian land, water assets, ports, and energy infrastructure? You surprisingly all said yes, although we do understand that a lot of our energy infrastructure is also owned and controlled by international interests. Under accountability still, do you support full enforceable transparency of all lobbying of SAMPs by foreign or foreign-aligned entities? So they've all gone yes, which is a good sign. Whether or not it happens in practice is another thing. Do you support a mandatory, publicly accessible, real-time tracker of all South Australian MPs' spending, allowances, and entitlements? And they've all got yes. Yes, as long as it's secure. That was from the Nationals, as long as that can be done securely. And the last one, under accountability, do you support establishing a royal commission into South Australia's handling of the algae bloom crisis? Most parties said yes, although Fairgo has said no, but other policies. And of course, Labor's going no, they don't really want that because, they're in power, they've been looking after it. The Greens and all the others are for that as well. So look, that's the scorecard there from the Turning Point Australia site. And just going back to that is their website there. And let's have a look. You can go back to the TP, that's the main page. So that's TPAUS site there, .com.au, if you want to check that out further and read that again. There's a bit of small print, but I did cover them all. I did want to spend a little bit of time talking into those things and how the politicians come back on that. So I do want to spend a bit of time on this video going through that, but all that information is obviously there, and I'll put the links out there as well for you guys. So now moving on to this next section now, I wanted to cover a little bit on how to vote, and this may take a little bit of time as well, but I wanted to just go through it and explain it a little bit and show you. It's often hard to see when you've got individual how to vote cards. So as I said, the Australian Electoral Commission is the site that people would be directing people to. Remember, this is what I'm covering here is my own views and opinions based on my worldview, and I'm sharing content in regards to that as well. But the South Australian Electoral Commission is your one port of call for anything that's related to the election. They are the authoritative voice in regards to that, the information, everything to do with elections. So if I've got something wrong, happy to be called out on it, happy to be questioned on my thoughts on some of those things as well. So that's fine. So part of their site has the full how to vote cards for every single electorate in South Australia. So you can do this yourself. Now, I've spent a little bit of time. I'm a bit of a data geek, and I've gone through and spent a bit of time putting this together. It did take a bit of time. It's just the way my mind works, so I can put it together visually for you guys, just so you kind of know where you stand. But that's the lower house, so the green ballots that you'll get, and you and just to make sure that you're getting this, I've done videos before where I was really hot on even people. I get the people that have lost trust in the election altogether. I totally get it, and I've done videos on this before. I talked about people that are enrolled to vote that actually didn't turn up to vote. And there was around 120,000 South Australians over the last couple of elections that were enrolled to vote that didn't. And that has a massive impact. That's, if the Legislative Council, that can mean a quota, 1.5 quotas of people that you might be aligned with in your worldview. And there was about 40,000 odd invalid votes cast. So that's where people have gone out to the ballots and they've turned up for the election and they've got their name signed off and just did a dummy vote. So an invalid vote that won't get counted. They've drawn pictures on there or numbered them incorrectly. So really encourage everybody to really. I'm really hot. I do not agree with people telling other people not to vote, and I understand why people are frustrated. But my message to you again is, I encourage people, every South Australian, to get out there and participate in this, regardless of how dire or how you believe it's going to make a difference, because it could, with those numbers I just mentioned, you could get another person in the Legislative Council that aligns with your worldview. So that's why I wanted to cover that. But in the lower house, with the little green slip, all the numbers, you'll have them ranging from 7, I think it's 5, sorry, from 5, the lowest one with candidates is 5, all the way through to 12 candidates. Now, when you have the green slip, number all of them from 1 through to however many is on there. So if you've got 5 in your electorate, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in order of your the candidates and how you believe you want to be governed for the next 4 years by the type of candidates and the political parties they represent. If you're an electorate that has 12, number them 1 through to 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Please number them all correctly to avoid invalid ballots. It's about 40,000, makes a huge difference. And that 120,000 of people that just didn't turn up, they're enrolled to vote, please turn up. Please turn up. But again, I get it. I understand why you probably are where you are. I'm not taking anything away from that. So that's the lower house. Now, I'm not going to break down the Legislative Council ballots too much in my Excel spreadsheet, or a bit of an excerpt from my spreadsheet from the numbers that I'm going to cover. But you'll see, obviously, when I go through them, roughly which way to number them in regards to how you align with your worldview, your politics on the individual parties and candidates. But my main thing, again, and I covered the Legislative Council slip as well, they're telling you you can number just 1 on the top line. Now, Anthony Green and his website explains it really well. A lot of people numbered 1 and that was it, because the rules have changed over the years. And what ended up happening is that people put a number 1 and their vote exhausted from there. So it went nowhere. So it doesn't matter. You're just voting for the one person, and then it's exhausted. So, but if you, let's say your alignment happens to be around the Liberals, you put a number 1 in the Liberals, or number 1 in One Nation, or Family First, or Labor, wherever. If you see parties and candidates that align with your number 1 spot, so if you've got whichever side of the spectrum of your political beliefs and views are, if you put a number 1 there, I'd encourage you to put a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for other parties and candidates that align, that are closest aligned with your worldview and politics based on your number 1 choice. So that, I'm encouraging people not just to put a number 1, because that way your vote stays alive for as far as possible. And a lot of the times, the number 2, 3, 4, 5 parties, which I'll show you as we go further, they align and their preferences will flow back to the main party that you're actually aligned with. And that's one of the reasons why you would put 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because generally their preferences will flow back, if they happen to get eliminated, back to the party that you wanted there in the first place. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you below the line, if you're a real committed voter and you really want the full preference, the full choice of that, you've got a ton of numbers down the bottom. Now, you must, if you want it to be a valid vote, below the line, you must number 1 through to 12 for it to be a valid vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, in order of your number 1 of the most likely candidate you want, all the way through again, aligned with your worldview, your political view, the way you stand to see the politician, the party, and where they stand, how much flexibility they have within the party of a conscience vote and going another way. So all these things have got to be taken into consideration. So you below the line, minimum of 12. You can number every single box, but just make sure that you're not messing it up along the way. But as long as it's a minimum of 12, then, and you number it correctly, and it's valid and legible, then that's going to be fine. So you can either vote above the line, minimum of 1. I recommend more, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so your vote stays there, and below the line, minimum of 12. That's the main thing I wanted to cover with that. I may track back to the Legislative Council after I go through my next little bit that I want to cover. So we'll get onto that onto that now. I'm going to cover. I'll take rid of that. So I wanted to give you a bit of a breakdown first before I go into this. The reason I'm putting this down is because it's very polarized. Politics is very polarized. So, many people talk about left and right. I'd like to think of it as your worldview, your political view, where you stand in regards to a lot of things socially, and that as well. So it's very polarized. I said that what I've broken up here is a little bit more. We see, parties like Socialist Party or Animal Party or the Greens or Labor leaning very much towards the progressive side of politics, that sort of thing. You've got One Nation, Family First, and some others sort of at the other end. So you've kind of got those polarized ones, and then you've got parties. And the Liberals used to be sort of more towards Family First, possibly, and One Nation, but they're sort of all over the place at the moment, floating somewhere sort of in the middle. And then you've got a lot of parties that come in the middle. So when I'm putting this together, I'm put this together as a bit of a polar opposite of political and worldview, ideological views, and so forth. And that's why I've broken it down, and I've put it into camps of Labor and Greens, and One Nation and Family First, because they seem to be the ones that have been polarized at both ends of the spectrum. And I totally understand it is much more nuanced than that. Again, this is just my views and opinions, but I wanted to kind of just show this to you to give you a bit, and some people are visual and they like to see things visually to see where this all falls, and that's why I've put it together. As I said, I'm a bit of a data geek. I like doing these things, but before I move on to that, I did want to just go through this with you. And so in regards to the worldview and all politics and that, the typical voter motivations for Labor and Greens, we've got strong role for government. And I don't think anybody can dispute that, is the belief that government should actively shape markets, services, and social outcomes. Very much a public services focus, so very top heavy in the public service, prioritise funding for healthcare, education, housing and transport, climate urgency and emergency support, rapid emissions reductions and renewable energy transitions, economic redistribution, accept higher taxes or regulation to reduce inequality, worker protections, support unions, labour laws and minimum wage increases, social progressivism, prioritise policies around gender equality, Indigenous recognition and multicultural inclusion, urban policy priorities, stronger public transport, density planning and environmental protections, and collective solutions mindset. Believe many societal problems require coordinated public policy, so government, doing the thinking for people rather than individual market solutions. Now, can I just remind you again, I understand it's more nuanced. This is my views, my information sharing, and I'm obviously happy to be challenged on all of it, regardless. I just wanted to, this is kind of where, when you see the bit of the matrices that I've put together, it kind of helps to explain a little bit. So if we move into, let's say, the One Nation, family first, typical motivations, voter motives, limited government preference, so skepticism towards large bureaucracies and government intervention, cost of living priority, focus on reducing taxes, energy costs and regulatory burdens, cultural conservatism, emphasis on traditional social values and family structures, national sovereignty, stronger emphasis on border control and national decision-making autonomy, energy pragmatism, favour slower energy transition or inclusion of coal, gas, and even looking towards nuclear, if that's a good mix, to protect jobs and prices. Regional and outer suburban concerns. Voters often feel policies are dominated by metropolitan priorities. Skepticism of institutions, so distrust of political elites, bureaucracy, and sometimes mainstream media. I'd say a lot. Individual responsibility mindset, preference for personal choice and market mechanisms over state-led solutions. So if we kind of give that a bit of a overview, the theme, you have a theme: Labor, the green mindset, family first mindset, government role, active problem solves, should be limited, and on the other spectrum, should be limited and restrained in regards to economy, redistribution and regulation. On the other spectrum, lower taxes and fewer regulations in regards to climate policy, rapid transition. On the other spectrum, slower or pragmatic transition. Social values, progressive social change. On the other spectrum, traditional social norms. And then trust in institutions, generally supportive of public institutions. On the other spectrum, more skeptical of institutions. And the policy lens, collective solutions for Labor, Green, and Family First and One Nation, individual responsibility and accountability. So that's kind of just gives you a bit of an overview of, when I go through what I'm going through, to kind of bear in mind why I've kind of put things in place, and it'll make more sense as I start to go through it. But anyway, let's start with, and this was one that I found very interesting in regards to Labor, and this is their how to vote card. So what I've done is I did a bit of a matrix, and I went through all their how to vote cards, and I said there was a ton of how to vote cards, 47 electorates, and these are the way that they've put them. So Greens, they pref the how to vote. They recommend you as the voter to vote Greens as number 2, and then they had Greens quite high there as well. And number 3 and 4, they did go with the Family Party in there. Now I haven't got the I did want to have that plan, but I just wanted to talk about the Family Party. Now, they had a media release last week. They're looking at an amalgamation, or there's been support from other smaller parties that put a message out to their membership base to support the Family Party. So the Family Party has been going for a while, but there's parties like Gerard Rennick's People First, Rod Cullerton, Libertarian, the Federation Party, and others. I think there's about 7 of them. There was a media release about this, and I apologise for not having that brought up through this presentation, but they've encouraged that there's been a grouping of them coming together to get behind the Family Party. So it's an amalgamation of a lot of smaller groups looking to come together from there, but just wanted to give you a bit of an explainer about that. So you understand a little bit more about a Family Party there. and then obviously Labor preferenced Liberal 5 and at number 5 11 times, and at number 6 11 times, and then obviously Family Party there. So very heavily leaning towards Green. So at the number 2 spot, you've got Independents 8. So there's quite a few independents that lean towards Greens, and you got number 2 there, Real Change, or 2 for Real Change and 2 for Fair Go. And it does go further, but I kind of I only did the top 6 and a lot of the ballots had 10, 11, and 12, but it kind of, you get the idea of, in regards to preferencing, where they sit, I guess, in their politics and ideology and worldview. So I found that quite interesting, and some Labor voters might find that quite interesting. So then we looked at the Greens. There's no real surprises here from the Greens. Their number 2 is the Animal Party, 13 times, and then the Labor Party 12, and then the Cannabis Party 11 times at their number 2 spot. So it just shows you, in regards to Greens, where their politics lie and the worldview in regards to these other parties. And no surprise, obviously, to have Labor there at their number 2. And then at number 3, Labor ranks quite highly, 15 times in their how to vote cards at number 3. And then you have the Independents, Real Change, then, you know, in the number 4 spot, Liberal, in the number 5 spot, Liberal, and the number 6 spot, Family Party at 12 times. So Liberal 17 times. So this is how many times they had all these parties at those number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 spots there. So, but no real surprises there looking at that. So in regards to Liberals, they had the Family Party, which kind of makes sense. A lot of those parties that have merged together are kind of, you know, your centrist, you know, a little bit, I guess centrist sort of aligned. So you've got them at number 2, 21 times. In number 3, 18 times, and then at number 4 and 5, you had One Nation ranked quite high, and then at number 6 at Labor 14 times. But at your number 2 spot, you obviously had 21 of the ballots had Family Party 2, 14 of the ballots had Fair Go at 14. Then you had Independent and One Nation even at number 2 spot, and some of the electorates there as well. So, and then you could see them from there 12 times. And if by the way, if anybody wants this, the spreadsheets that I put together, I'm happy to email them if people want to look at all the information that I collated from there. As I said, just a little bit of a data nerd putting this together, but visually it kind of gives you a bit more of an example of how that looks. So the Family Party, no real surprises there either. They've got Family First 34 times. Now Family Party also ran in 47 electorates, and they had Family First 34 times. Then the Liberals at number 2, and then One Nation number 3, and Fair Go 3 times in number 2, I mean. So yeah, so Family First 34 times at number 2, and then Liberal 40 times, so quite high as we expect, 40 times at the number 3 spot out of 47 ballots, and then One Nation 25 times at the number 4 spot, and so forth. So you can kind of see where that leaning is. It might make more sense as I go through some of the independent stuff I'm going to go through shortly. And then Family First, no real surprises there from a lot of people. One Nation 29 times. Now, Family First did not run a candidate in all 47 electorates. I believe it was 36 or something like that. Yeah, so 29, 30, 35 or 36, yeah. So One Nation 29 times at the number 2. So preference-wise, they're recommending their voter base One Nation next. Then Family Party in number 3 was the highest, and number 4 the highest as well. And then Labor and Liberal, which is quite interesting because historically I believe Liberal and Family First are much more closely aligned, which is very interesting. So yep, so no real surprises for people there. Visually you can see there where they're hoping their voter base will put their preferences behind them there. So Fair Go, again, no real surprises. I think for most people, they want you to preference the Liberals in most of the seats, 20. And again, Fair Go didn't run in every seat either, just over 20 or so. But again, 20 for Liberals. Then you've got then you've got Family Party, Family First, and Family First at 5, and then One Nation 8 times at the number 6 spot. But yeah, so Liberal 20, Independent 2, and One Nation preferenced in one of the electorates as well. So, and then on from there. But I think what really, the focus should be for a lot of people, if they're looking at the political alignment and motivation and ideology, it's who they put second, and then 3, 4. I think beyond 6, you kind of get the point. You kind of flips the other way. I have done it though, but for these examples, I've only gone up to 6 on, because there's some of the electorates, as I said, up to 12. The Cannabis Party at number 2 spot. Now again, they didn't run in a lot of electorates. It's about 11, 14 or so there. But United Voice very high in the number 2. Then Real Change, and I personally believe Real Change sits a little bit closer towards Labor in my view, but I might be totally wrong. And then Independent, and then Greens. So that's the Cannabis Party sort of thinking, and then obviously Greens at the number 3 spot's the highest, fair go, and then you've got Labor, and then Liberal in number 6 4 times. So that's the Cannabis Party. No real surprises from the Animal Party, very, very aligned. Greens, Socialist Party, I reckon, 15 times the Greens, 6 times the Labor, and 1 for Independents at the number 2 spot, and then Labor, Independent, Liberal, and then Liberal into the number 6, 5, and 6 spot. But no surprises there for most people. United Voice, so had the Family Party 6 times in their number 2 spot, and Independents 5 times, then the Cannabis Party 2, and Real Change, and then Family Party, fair go, Liberal. So sort of centrist aligned kind of voting style there. For just so you understand, for them, for the United Voice Party there. And then a Real Change, as I said, at their number 2 spot, they've got the Greens 4 times, Cannabis 3 times, fair go to Independent 2. Some people would say they're more centrist. Looking at it, I'd reckon they're probably a little bit more maybe centrist, Labor, left. If you want to do that, I want to try and get away from left and right. I mean, there's much more nuance than that. I get it. I get it. And then fair go next, Labor, Liberal, Family Party from there. So again, they didn't run in a whole heap of electorates there either. So about 11 or 12. And then the Nationals didn't have much. I just put the whole lot up here because they only had 3 electorates they're running in, and obviously they're aligned with the Family Party and Independent. Number 3, 2 Independents, Liberal, and then so forth. Liberal is a bit of a mix there, but anyway, you can kind of see where they're sitting in regards to where they want you to preference there for them. So look, that's kind of the breakdown of the way the parties want you to preference next to them. So now I'm going to move on to, I wanted to cover independence in the electorates. Now, I wanted to show you that the reason I'm covering this is because I want to show, I did all 47 electorates, but I'm only going to show you the ones with the independents, because you may not be aware of and the reason I did this, and again, I understand it might be more nuanced. I kind of wanted to show people who might not be aware of where they kind of might lean in regards to the Labor Green side of the fence, or the One Nation, Family First kind of the fence. So in the seat of Davenport, you've got Golding, sort of obviously leaning a little bit there into Labor and the Greens. Liberal have put them at the other end, and then Family Party, Family First at the other end as well. So I say that Golding's politics leans more towards that style. So just so people, when they're doing their preferences, they're voting the 2, 3, and 4, you get a bit of an idea of where they're sitting. Then in black, obviously, Spears has been through a bit of a tumultuous time, and he's on the nose with nearly every party apart from Fairgo there. That's actually Fairgo party there. I'm sort of covering up a little bit there, but yes, Spears is there, was the only one, is the Fairgo is the only ones that put Spears anywhere near the that end, but every other party you can see has put him at the other end of the spectrum. So then we look at in the seat of Cheltenham up the top, you've got independent Majimaku. So you've got Family First and Fairgo putting them quite high. Now, that again, I haven't researched these independents, but it kind of, if Family First put him there, tend to maybe some conservative Christian values there, and especially if you're considering that Greens and Labor put him at the other end. Liberals put them at the other end as well, and Family Party there as well. So interesting, but yeah, again, it's possibly very much more nuanced. Do your own research. Again, all of this, I recommend you to research your own candidates regardless of anything. In the seat of Enfield, you've got Clendon, clearly leaning towards, Labor Greens kind of politics. But again, you've got United Voice putting them quite high up there as well, but the rest of the parties, you've got Family Party and Family First and Liberals right at the other end. So read into this what you think, discern the information as you think. I'm not telling you how to think or vote. I'm just sharing this for information, just because I thought I'd see what this looks like on paper with all the cards. So in the seat of Stewart, you've got Brock. You can see clearly bunched up here with Labor, Greens, Cannabis and Animal very high up there. So the politics sits there, with Liberal, Family Party there sitting in the middle there. So clearly you can see sort of where that leans. If you're in the seat of Stewart and you're kind of thinking, where do I put this person? That gives you a bit of an idea. And I did want to mention, obviously, you obviously are aware of this already, but One Nation did not, they only put a number 1 on all their how to vote cards because they believe that, and this is true, you, the voter, own your preferences. This is the party's recommendations, the independents and party's recommendations. You, the voter, can go totally different whichever way you want. I just wanted to show you where these independents sit in regards to the individual parties thinking where they might sit in regards to the politics. So if then we have a look at the seat of Unley, we've got Harrison, so very highly rated there in the Greens, and Real Change, Labor there as well, and Animal sort of sitting more in the centre. Liberals have actually put him at number 2 as well. And then if we have a look at who's this here, Family Party put him quite low. So, if Liberals put him high, Family Party low, you need to do your own research. I'm thinking very much sitting more towards the Labor Green style of politics and thinking. That side of things, but yeah, interesting. Liberals put them there. Again, I haven't researched these individual candidates. This is just for you to have a look at and then do your own research. Maybe ring them up, call them, see what they think, see what they stand for, which I encourage anyway. Now, Chaffey was interesting one. Obviously, a couple of these have multiple independents. So with Gamersfelder, I've got. You can see Cannabis Party put him high, Greens put him at number 3, and Labor at number 4. The other parties have put him sort of lower down the ranking. So I'm sort of hinting more towards that. Gamersfelder is leaning more to sort of towards Labor, Greens, style of politics. And then if we have a look at Colton, another independent. Oh no, sorry, let's keep on Chaffey, Perrin. So Perrin, Labor's put up high, but again, Greens put them quite sort of middle of the road. and Nationals number 3, and Family Party towards the end there. So look, that's one that's probably quite nuanced. You might have to look at that. Labor's put it at number 2, obviously, but again, call that independent up and see what they stand for. Sort of a bit of a mixed bag, but he's put Gamersfelder put Perrin very much at the end, so be Liberal aligned here. Let's move on to Colton. We've got Evans is with real change. As I've said, real change put it sort of centrist, or kind of put it more leaning towards Labor centrist maybe. So Labor's got it number 4, then the others. So yeah, the other party's sort of in the middle as well. So I'd say probably a little bit sort of a centrist tilt on it, but encourage you again to research them, research the individual candidates. As you can see, these candidates have actually put Liberal and One Nation will change. So again, it's sort of more centrist, maybe right-leaning there as well. So again, find out what they're all about. Do your own research and due diligence. The seat of Croydon has Azhar as an independent. So Greens and Animal put them at number 3, Labor all the way out the other end. United Voice in the middle, and Family First and Family. So interesting mix. So Labor's got them all the way at the other end. These parties got them sort of middle end as well. So I'm suspecting leaning more towards Greens, Animal Party. Yeah. The seat of Dunstan, McBride is Greens number 2, Animal number 3. So that sort of hints more towards that style of politics. For you to see that, you can see Liberal and the other parties put it further down the end as well. So and then we have the seat of Finnis. So you can see Lewis is number 3 at Labor, Greens, Animal Party, and for Liberals, Family Party and Fairgo, sort of middle of the road. So why I've kind of grouped them underneath the kind of Labor, Greens politic. Same with Nicholson, number 2 and 3 under Labor, Greens, 4 under Animal, and then middle of the road and towards the end for Liberals, Family First and so forth. So again, that's why I've grouped Nicholson under that sort of style of politics as well. Florey, we've got Independent Bedford sitting at number 3 with the Greens, but all the way at the other end with Labor, middle of the road with Liberal, Family Party and Fairgo. Right at the other end with Family First. So if you're thinking Family First, strong conservative family values, Christian values, put Bedford at the end there. You read into what you want for that, but sort of middle of the road towards maybe left leaning, maybe. United Voice has put Bedford at number 2, obviously there. So, but as I showed before, United Voice is sort of fairly centrist in their how to vote cards altogether. So for them, we will look at the seat of Hyson. We've got Granger, sort of middle with this grouping. 3 for the Greens, 5 for Animal, right at the other end for Labor. But Liberals actually got him right at the beginning, so pretty Liberal aligned. Again, Granger hasn't put. He's only put himself. They've only put themselves as number 1. No how to vote cards. But Liberal put number 2 preferences, and the other party sort of middle of the range. So have a think about that before you fill out the ballot as well. If we move into MacKillop, you've got Davies, you've got McBride right at the other end with with Labor, Greens and Cannabis. You've got fairly middle in the end for the others. So I don't think any of the parties look at aligning themselves with McBride, and Davies is the same. very much in the middle to the end. So I've kind of haven't grouped them in either of sort of Labor, Green, Cannabis, or Liberal, Family Party, Nationals, One Nation. I've kind of stuck them out there on their own for you to discern whether you'd want to put them more towards the end of middle to the end of the ballot as well. The seat of Narunga, we've got Ellis, clearly Greens and Labor right at the other end, Cannabis at the other end, and Real Change sort of middle. And then obviously the flip of the coin is Family Party, put them towards the end, but you've got Family First, United Voice, very early up. So I'd put Ellis under this sort of grouping, sort of more centrist, right, conservative aligned. For you to kind of have a bit of a think about which way to go there. In the seat of Flinders, so you've got three independents in the seat of Flinders. SA Best, I think it's Connie Benares, I believe. Oh yeah, should know that. Apologies for not. SA Best, obviously right up there with Labor, Greens, and Real Change. So that gives you a bit of an idea about the style of politics there. And the other groupings have got it middle to the end there. Then you've got Keogh, Patrick, an independent, sort of closely bunched up with Liberal, Family, and National. So that's why I got them under this grouping. Although Labor's put them at number 2, at the other parties, Greens, put them in the middle. Keogh, for this grouping for Labor, Greens, and Real Change, sort of more towards the end, middle to end, but also for the others, middle to end. So maybe it's it might be worth considering middle to the end on the ballot for you as well, depending, on your own research. You might align, Keogh might align with you. Haslam, Nationals have got them at number 2. The rest of the parties have got a mixed bag, although Greens have got number 3, Labor number 4, so may sort of lean sort of more into their camp, but bit of a mixed bag there as well. So definitely one to discern those 3 independents plus the SA Best, where you might want to stick them depending on your the way you do politics, or you want your politicians to behave, the way your worldview is, and all those things that make up how you're going to vote for people. In the seat of Cavell, you've got Schultz high with Labor and Animal Party, and then with Greens and Real Change, sort of the middle of the road with the other groupings of parties, although Liberals got them at number 2 as well. So that's very interesting. Labor and Liberal preferencing number 2 for Schultz. That's interesting. The rest of the parties, middle of the road, towards the end as well. And then you've got Van Relt, I believe is very strong libertarian. I know him personally, but again, this grouping of party very, very low down that end. But obviously Schultz has the independent has put Van Relt quite high. Then Fairgo, Animal, Labor, Liberal. So this kind of tells you where their thinking is. So Schultz's thinking, but I guess Labor and Greens, it depends on whether they believe that Schultz can work with them or not, and how much aligned they might be in regards to they're going to vote in certain bills and legislations and so forth. But other than that, Van Relt's right down the other end of the spectrum on the how to vote cards, right at the other end. And Mount Gambier, so you've got Fatchin, Scholes, and Amoroso. So Fatchin is number 2 again for Labor and Liberal, but also quite high with Greens, Cannabis, and Animal Party. And then middle of the road with Family Party and Family First. Scholes is sort of middle-ish with Greens and Cannabis, right at the other end with Labor, right at the other end with Liberal, sort of middle of the range with Family and Family First. And then Amoroso is number 2 with the Cannabis Party, but middle of the range with Animal and Labor. there towards the other end as well, right at the other end with Greens. So a bit of a centrist maybe. So again, all of these three didn't put any preference towards any parties in their how to votes. They've only just got a number one next to them and letting the voter choose. So again, looking at this, it might give you a little bit of insight about, how you want to group them depending on where you lean in your politics. But obviously, it's important to get to know those the candidates. In the seat of Hammond, we've got Keane and Hope, and so Hope and Keane sort of really sitting in the middle of the pack for all the parties except for United Voice. We've got it close, and then obviously they've both preference each other quite close. So again, they might be sort of centrist, middle of the road for your how to vote cards, wherever you might put them, depending on your style of politics. Hopefully the visual sort of helps you a little bit about your choices. So Port Adelaide was quite a busy one. A few independents there as well. McNamara, number 2 for Greens, and then sort of middle of the road for Labor and Cannabis. So let you make your mind up about that. And right at the other end of the spectrum with the other groupings, Liberal, Family Party, Family First, United Voice, Fair Go. So rates quite low in regards to that grouping of parties. And then you have Bowen and Johansson. So again, a little bit of a mixed bag. Bowen's got, number 2 with Liberals, and number 3 with Labor, and then number 3 with Family Party. But then with Greens and the others, it's sort of middle of the road. So discern whereabouts on the ballot you might want to put them. Sort of there is a bit more of a grouping in this, Liberal, Family Party, Family First kind of grouping. And the same with Johansson. He's right at the other end for Labor, but in the middle of the grouping for the others, Green and Cannabis, and same with the other grouping, Family Party and Family First, and so forth. But quite high with Liberal and Fair Go and United Voice there for Johansson. So that is the whole lot. So again, as I said, it's much more. I understand it's much more nuanced than what I've gone through, but hopefully, looking at that visually, you guys get an understanding of where those candidates sit, those independents. You get an understanding of the parties, who they align and who they sort of group with in regards to maybe their worldview and their politics, and that. And I've got to reiterate, this is just information, my own personal views and information. I am a Christian. I do lean more towards the family first view on things in regards to the Christian worldview, and One Nation is obviously up there as well. Liberal have lost their ways, but that's not to say that I haven't got higher up in my thinking for United Voice and Fair Go, and that I recently interviewed Linda Chen from Fair Go as well. As I've known her for a little while, she's quite hot on looking to change. She represents a company called an organisation called Direct Democracy as well. Is really looking at changing things up. So look, it's a nuanced thing. The ultimate thing is, regardless of what I say, regardless of what all the parties say, what media says, what politicians and bureaucrats say, you are accountable to complete your own ballot. And the main thing is that you discern and you're as informed as possible to do that. And I know there's less than a week now. We're voting on Saturday. The polls are already open for pre-voting. People are already making their choices. This is getting out a bit late, but I did want to have a talk into this, and I was hoping to do it earlier, but I'm hoping that you got a little bit of value out of it. But the main thing is vote wisely, and don't waste your vote, and vote with your conscience and your worldview, and really look at parties that allow that conscience as well. I'm not strong on parties that restrict the individual members a conscience vote on topics and issues from there. But obviously, if you're a voter, someone that likes to vote for the Greens party, you obviously understand their worldview and their political position, and you're not going to mind the type of vote, which direction their voting goes. So anyway, this ended up being fairly long with me monologuing and talking, but I'm going to break it up and upload it into different segments. I know it was a long one, but I thank you for your patience and good luck out there. Consider when you're voting, what sort of future do you want for your children and grandchildren moving forward? So anyway, God bless Australia, God bless South Australia, and God bless you. And as I said, vote wisely. Take care for now. All the best.